Hello and welcome. It's Monday, November 17th, and today we're doing a special single-story deep dive. We're going to spend the whole episode on one of the most hardline moves in the UK's recent immigration overhaul, a new visa ban policy aimed at countries that refuse to take back their own citizens when the UK tries to deport them. This is more than just another policy headline. It could directly change who gets UK visas, how easily they get them, and whether entire groups of people suddenly find their travel, study, or work plans blocked. So if you're from Angola, Namibia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or you have friends, family, or students from those countries, this episode really matters. Here's what the UK government has announced. As part of reforms confirmed in November 2025, ministers now have a formal tool to punish what they call non-cooperative states. These are countries that delay or block the return of their own citizens who have no legal right to remain in Britain. Under this new policy, the UK can reduce, and in some cases suspend, visas for nationals of those states. The way it's set up is a step-by-step pressure system. The first step is usually tighter limits on visit visas and study visas. So that means fewer tourist visas, fewer family visits, fewer students admitted to universities and colleges. If, after that, talks still fail and cooperation doesn't improve, ministers can then broaden the restrictions to other visa categories. That could eventually touch work visas or other longer-term routes, though the government is trying to keep that as a second or third stage rather than the starting point. Right now, 3 African countries have been singled out publicly: Angola, Namibia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. They have been given a 1-month warning. That is an important date to remember. Essentially, the UK is saying, you have 1 month to improve your cooperation on taking back nationals we are trying to remove, or you will face visa restrictions. So for people from these countries, the next 4 weeks are not just political theater. They are a countdown that could reshape your mobility. From the UK government's perspective, the logic is about leverage. Officials say that some foreign governments simply ignore requests to confirm identity, drag their feet on issuing travel documents, or outright refuse to readmit citizens who lost their immigration cases. According to analysis by VisaVerge.com, British ministers see this new policy as a concrete tool to force action where diplomatic conversations alone haven't worked. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has presented this as a response to rising public frustration over irregular migration and deportations that never actually happen. Her argument is that when other governments refuse to take their people back, they're undermining UK border security and eroding trust in the system. In her framing, if the UK can't enforce a removal decision, then the entire idea of controlled migration starts to look weak. But let's talk about what this actually feels like at the individual level, because policy language can be very dry. Imagine you're a Namibian student planning to start a master's degree in London next year. You've been working on your application, saving money, maybe already have an offer letter. Under this policy, if the UK decides Namibia is not cooperating enough and triggers restrictions, student visas could be capped or dramatically reduced. You might suddenly find your visa delayed, refused, or simply impossible to get that year. The same goes for visit visas. If you're from Angola and hoping to visit relatives in the UK for a wedding next summer, a sudden tightening of visitor visas could mean months of uncertainty or outright refusal, not because of something you did, but because of a standoff between governments over deportation cooperation. This raises a big ethical and practical question. Is it fair to use ordinary travelers, students, and families as leverage to pressure foreign governments? The UK government's answer is that it's one of the few tools that really bites. Visa restrictions hit political elites, business leaders, and ordinary citizens all at once. And that, in theory, pushes governments to come back to the table. But the cost of that pressure is real disruption to private lives. There's also a wider diplomatic dimension. When one country weaponizes visas in this way, others can respond. Over time, you can get tit-for-tat measures, where targeted states impose their own restrictions on British nationals, or seek closer ties with countries that don't attach migration conditions. That can reshape partnerships in education, trade, and regional politics. For now, the immediate key dates and action points are these. First, that 1-month window for Angola, Namibia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Governments in those countries need to decide quickly whether to speed up cooperation on deportation cases or risk clear public visa cuts. Second, anyone from those countries who is planning a UK trip, especially for study or important family events, should talk to their university, their sponsor, or a trusted advisor and follow the news closely. It may be wise to apply early, or at least have a backup plan in case restrictions actually kick in after the 1-month period. Looking slightly ahead, if this policy is seen as successful by UK ministers, it likely won't stop with these 3 countries. It could be expanded to other states that are slow on documentation, or reluctant to take back refused asylum seekers and overstayers. So even if your country isn't on the list right now, this story is a signal of where UK immigration thinking is heading. More conditional, more transactional, and more ready to use visas as pressure. To sum up, the UK has moved from complaining about non-cooperative states to directly tying visa access to deportation cooperation. 3 African countries are on a 1-month clock, and the first people likely to feel the impact are visitors and students. If you're affected, the best thing you can do is stay informed, move early on any planned applications, and watch closely how your government responds. That's our deep dive for today. For ongoing coverage, detailed analysis, and updates on how this policy develops and who it touches next, visit visaverge.com. Thanks for listening, and stay informed as these changes unfold.